Good morning, girls. In today's session of J2EE, we are going to learn a new topic, namely Servlet collaboration, or you can say request dispatcher. Let us understand the meaning of these words. Servlet collaboration. The Servlet collaboration means to involve sharing of information among multiple servlets. Collaborating servlet is passing general information that is to be shared directly by one servlet to another servlet of HTML or JSP through various methods. Here the concept is saying that you can include all the content of other servlet into your current servlet, right? The different ways of servlet collaboration are shown here. Number one, using request dispatcher. There are two different methods of this type of collaboration way. Number one is include method and second is forward method. The other technique for servlet collaboration is through HTTP servlet response. Here you can use send redirect method for the same purpose, right? The third way is servlet context set attribute and get attribute methods. These are the methods through which you can do the servlet collaboration. Let us begin with forwarding and redirecting. First of all, let us understand the meaning of forwarding and redirecting. Request dispatcher interface is used to forward a request and response objects to another servlet. The send direct method is used for redirecting request and response objects. HTTP servlet response has send redirect method, which is response.send redirect, and you can specify the URL where you want to move and provide the URL where the user needs to redirect. HTTP servlet request has get request dispatcher method that returns request dispatcher object. There are two different methods, forward and include. The forward method, you can see the pictorial form of forward method. Here you can see the client which is forwarding a request, right, for the servlet 1. We generate a response, right, and forward the request to the another servlet. Response is generated and that response is sent back to the client. As you can see the whole cycle, client is requesting, right, and go to the servlet 1. Again this will forward the request to the second servlet. The second servlet will generate the response and that response is sent back to the browser from where the client has sent a request. The client will send a request to servlet 1. Servlet 1 can either forward the request to the servlet 2 or generate its own response. In the third step, second servlet also generate a specific response and both the responses are returned back to the browser individually. Here you can see the syntax of forward method. For that, we'll create one object, request dispatcher equals to request.getRequestDispatcher, and we have to pass the URL pattern for servlet or HTML file name where we want to move, right, and then we will use rd.forward. Here we will send two objects of type request and one object of type response. Instead of using a forward method, you can use include method if you want to include a content of any other servlet in your current servlet, right? Here you can see the little bit difference between these two diagrams. client is sending a request to the first servlet, then first servlet will send the same request to the second servlet. The second servlet will generate the response and return that response back to the first servlet through the include method, right? Response of servlet 2 is included in first servlet as a response. Then the final response will be generated by the first servlet and it will send back to the client. I repeat the cycle. The client will send a request to the first servlet. Then servlet 1 can either forward the request to the second servlet or generate its own response, right? Meanwhile, the servlet 2 can also generate a specific response and that include the response in servlet 1. The responses generated by both the servlets are returned back to the browser as a single response. So these are the two methods, forward and include. You can see the syntax of include method. Here also what we have to do is we have to generate one object of type request dispatcher. RD is the name of the object. Then we will use the method get request dispatcher and we will pass the URL pattern for a servlet or HTML file that we want to access. Then we will use include method, rd.include. The include method has two different parameters. The first parameter is an object of type request and the second parameter is of type response. Here you can see the example. Login screen is shown here. Username and password, two text boxes are in front of you, right? We'll enter the values for these two text boxes and we'll click on the login button. This will redirect us on validate page, right? Here the coding of validation will be written. This servlet will generate the response either yes or no. If the authenticated user will be trying to log in, then we will send our request to the welcome servlet page, and if the person is not authenticated by this servlet, then will be redirected to the include HTML file, which will show the message, sorry, the username and password are incorrect, and we will be redirected to the index.html one more time. We can enter a username and password and then we'll click on login button. Then next what will happen, the validate servlet check if the information provided is valid or invalid. If it is valid, we move to the welcome servlet screen. If the validation fails, the response is included in the HTML file and sent back with a specific error message. This type of example you can create yourself, right? I'll show you one example of include and forward method through the NetBeans. Create your own project for request dispatcher, right? Here you can see I have created one project with name prg_17. It has one HTML page with name index.html. Here I have created one link for my first servlet whose name is forward demo, right? The name of servlet is forward demo, nothing else, no more content in our HTML page, right? Now create one servlet under the directory source packages by right clicking on it and select Servlet and provide the information such as class name, then the information related to deployment descriptor, class name, servlet name, and URL pattern for this servlet. Click on finish and close the window. Here I have already created one servlet with name forward demo, right? Now again we need 3 packages: java.io, javax.servlet, and javax.servlet.http. These 3 packages are required, right? Here we got the class with name forward demo, public class, and it has one method, toGet method. Even you can take process request method. Then set the content type text/html and create one object of printWriter class, as we have done in our previous programs, right? Now I want to show you the demo of Servlet collaboration. So just printed one line, out.println Servlet collaboration example. When we will run this program, this title will be shown on our browser page. Then, as I explained in theory, you have to create one object of type request dispatcher. The same here, RD is a name given to this object, right? And use the method get request dispatcher with the URL on which you want to move. Here I want to move on another servlet which is already created in the same folder. As you can observe, the next servlet in source packages directory, right? Next servlet.java. Then here you can see the 2 lines. One has a forward method and the second one, line number 18, here I have used include method. Both has the same parameters. We will activate these lines one by one, not together, right? First let us activate the forward method, rd.forward. What will happen when we execute this program will be forwarded to the next servlet without clicking on any submit button or any link. Let us see the coding of next servlet. Here I have not done anything. I have just printed a one line, that is content from next servlet. So you will come to know that this content came from the next servlet page, right? So let us run the program. Here you can see the link. The link came from index.html. As we click on this page, we'll forward to the forward demo page, right? Here you can see the forward demo page is running, and the content you can see, compare this content with your forward demo page. Here what we have written is Servlet collaboration example, but instead of showing this message, it is showing the message of next Servlet page. Why is it so? Because we have used the forward method in our programming, right? In our code we have used the forward method. This will redirect us to the next servlet page, and the response of this page will be generated, and here you can see the content of this page in our browser, right? Let us switch the method of forward demo. here. Now comment the line number 17 and activate line number 18. Now which method we are going to use is include method. As you already studied this concept in PHP, right? The same concept is here. Now run your project. Again, the content of index.html is here. Click on this link. We'll move on the forward demo, right? And now you can observe the difference between the result of both the pages, right? First time we got content from next Servlet, this line only, and now when we have used include method in our page, we got two lines. The first line is Servlet collaboration example, which is a content of forward demo page itself, right? And the second line, this one, the selected line, this content came from the page next Servlet, right? So you can see the effect of both methods. In the forward method, we were redirected to the next Servlet page, right? And through the include method, what happened? The coding of the current page as well as the page which we have included through this URL, the content of this page is also shown in the browser. So you can see the difference between these two methods, and we can never run both the methods together. Keep in mind, always keep this thing in your mind. When you are using forward method, disable this line, and if you are using the forward method, if you are using forward method, disable the include line. And if you want to use include method, then disable the forward the previous line number 17. So with the help of these two methods, you can create the example which we have seen in our theory, right? You can create a one Servlet or one HTML page with name index.html, where you have to create two text boxes, one for entering a username and one for a password. Then create one Servlet which can validate these two values, right? Here what you have to do is you have to use get parameter, you have to use the method get parameter, right, through which you can get the values of these two text boxes. Then through the if condition, you can check the result. If the person has entered a proper value, then move to the Servlet, which will show you the welcome message. And if the entered values are incorrect, then move back to the include HTML page, right? So you can use the forward method in this case. Create your own example. Keep this example in front of you to develop the new one, right? I repeat, using this method you can perform the validation example. Do it yourself. In the next session we'll do some more example of page counter, right? Till then, thank you all, and we'll meet in next session. Thank you.